You're 16,000 feet above the Atlantic. Everything is routine. Then, bang. The cockpit shudders, warning lights flash, and your engine begins to die. You have less than 2 minutes to make a decision that will determine whether you live or don't make it home. There's no runway below you, no second engine to rely on, just open ocean. Now here's the question, what would you do? Because this isn't a movie. This is exactly what real US military pilots face when something goes wrong in the sky. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand what really happens in those critical moments, and why every second matters more than you think. Let's get into it. You're watching The Navy Star, and today you're stepping inside one of the most dangerous scenarios in modern aviation, when a fighter jet engine fails over the ocean. Picture yourself in that cockpit again. You're flying a high-performance fighter jet. Everything feels smooth. You've done this 1,000 times. Training mission, clear skies, normal operations. Then suddenly, the engine loses power. Not gradually, not politely. It hits hard. The aircraft vibrates. You hear a deep, unnatural noise. Warning systems light up across your dashboard. Oil pressure drops, fast. And in that exact moment, your brain shifts. No panic, no hesitation, just training. You've heard it drilled into you over and over again. Aviate, navigate, communicate. First, you fly the aircraft. Keep it stable, keep it controlled. Second, you figure out where you are and where you can go. Third, you tell someone what's happening. Now here's something most people don't realize. When a fighter jet loses its engine, it doesn't glide like a commercial plane. It doesn't gently descend. It falls. Fast. You're losing altitude every second, and that clock is brutal. So let me ask you, if you had less than 2 minutes to decide, would you try to save the jet, or would you eject immediately? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see what you'd choose before we go deeper. Because this is where things get real. You grab the throttle. You attempt a restart. Fuel flow adjustments. Electrical checks. Emergency procedures. Nothing works. The engine is gone. Now your options are shrinking by the second. And here comes the hardest decision of all. Do you stay with the aircraft and try to make it to land? Or do you eject, right now, while you still have altitude? Here's why that choice is so difficult. Ejecting from a fighter jet isn't safe. It's controlled violence. When you pull that handle, an explosive sequence launches you out of the aircraft with extreme force. We're talking forces that can seriously injure your spine, your limbs, even if everything works perfectly. But staying inside a dying aircraft over the ocean? That's often worse. Because there's nowhere to land. No roads, no fields, no backup plan, just water. And water at high speed might as well be concrete. So the decision has to be made, and it has to be made fast. If you're still with me right now, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. Because this is the kind of real-world insight you won't find in movies or headlines. Back in the cockpit, you're dropping lower. Altitude is disappearing. You turn toward land hoping, just hoping, you can stretch the distance. But the math doesn't work. You're not going to make it. Now you're below a critical altitude. Time is gone, and you know it. This is the moment. You reach for the ejection handle. No hesitation. You pull. In less than a second, everything changes. The canopy is gone, either blasted away or shattered. Rocket motors ignite beneath your seat. You're launched upward with incredible force. It happens so fast your body barely processes it. One moment you're inside a jet. The next, you're being thrown into open air at extreme speed. The wind hits you instantly, hard. If your posture isn't perfect, injuries happen right here. Then comes the stabilization phase. A small parachute deploys to steady you. Moments later, the main parachute opens. And suddenly, everything goes quiet. You're floating, alone, above the ocean. Take a second and think about that. You just went from flying a multi-million-dollar fighter jet to drifting in the sky with nothing but water below you. Now tell me, how do you think you'd feel in that moment? Calm? Shocked? Focused? Let me know in the comments, because this is where survival truly begins. You're descending toward the ocean, and now a new set of problems starts. Your aircraft is gone, you're alone, and you have to prepare for impact. Water landings aren't soft. If you hit wrong, you can be injured immediately. So you position your body the way you were trained. You brace. You hit the water. and now everything has to happen fast. You release your parachute immediately. If you don't, it can drag you under. You inflate your life vest. You deploy your life raft. You activate your emergency beacon. Every step matters. Every second counts. Because now, you're no longer a pilot. You're a survivor. And the ocean is not forgiving. Even in warmer temperatures, your body loses heat quickly. Waves can be disorienting. Visibility is terrible. From the air, you are almost invisible. Just a small point in a massive, moving surface. But here's the part that changes everything. You are not alone in this fight. The moment you sent that distress call, a system kicked into motion. Rescue teams are already moving. Aircraft are changing course. Helicopters are launching. Ships are adjusting their routes. All focused on one goal: finding you. And here's something important. These rescue crews are among the best in the world. They train for exactly this scenario. They can operate in rough seas, strong winds, low visibility. They know how to find someone in conditions that would seem impossible. But even with all that, finding a single person in the ocean is incredibly difficult. So you help them. You activate your locator beacon. That sends your exact position. You deploy visual signals, flares, dye markers that spread across the water. Anything to increase your chances of being seen. Now think about this. You're sitting in a life raft, surrounded by nothing but ocean. You're waiting, and you don't know how long it will take. Minutes feel like hours. Every sound makes you look up. Every wave shifts your position. This is where mental strength becomes everything. If you're still watching right now, type "rescue" in the comments. I want to know who's locked in on this story. Because now we reach the moment that brings everything together. In some real-world cases, rescue happens fast. Within an hour or so, helicopters arrive. They hover above the water, fighting wind and motion. A rescue swimmer drops down. They reach you, they secure you, and just like that, you're pulled out, alive. But not every story ends that way. Sometimes there's no distress call. Sometimes there's confusion, disorientation, or failure at the worst possible moment. And when that happens, rescue becomes much harder. That's why altitude matters so much. The higher you are when something goes wrong, the more time you have. More time to think, more time to act, more time to survive. Modern systems help improve those chances. Ejection seats today are incredibly advanced. They adjust automatically based on altitude, speed, and position. Survival gear is designed for worst-case scenarios. Emergency beacons are precise and reliable. All of it is built around one goal: getting you home. But none of it replaces training. Pilots train for these situations constantly. Simulators recreate every possible emergency: engine failures, electrical problems, system malfunctions, over and over again until responses become automatic. Because in real life, there's no time to think it through. You act, or you don't make it. Now here's something people often ask. Why not just give every fighter jet 2 engines? It sounds simple. More engines, more safety. But in reality, aircraft design is about trade-offs. More engines mean more weight, more fuel consumption, more maintenance, and sometimes reduced performance in other critical areas. So instead, engineers focus on making one engine extremely reliable. And most of the time, it works. Failures are rare, but when they do happen, everything else has to work perfectly. The pilot, the equipment, the rescue system, every piece matters. Because when you're over the ocean, there are no second chances. So next time you see a fighter jet overhead, remember this. The person flying it isn't just skilled. They're trained to handle situations most people can't even imagine. They're prepared to make life or death decisions in seconds, and they do it knowing the risks. If this gave you a new perspective, make sure you're subscribed to the Navy Star, because we break down the real stories behind military aviation, the ones that matter. And before you go, I want you to think about this. If you were in that cockpit, engine failing, ocean below, would you wait? Or would you eject immediately? That decision defines everything. Stay ready, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video.